welcome to Pints Perspectives. What's up? Let's get a little intro music going here. It's been a minute, but we in the house.
We a little out of
practice.
Out of practice. Yeah. Also, we're in a new space.
New space.
I've moved, and that's one of the reasons we've been out of. We had a hurricane that effed everybody.
And a derecho 2 weeks prior, and all equally effing everyone.
And then I moved, and then one of Adam's children had a catastrophe. It's been a whole minute.
I hate summertime.
Oh yeah, no, it's the worst. These kids need to go back to school.
Well, also I just don't like the heat, and the kids need to get the hell out. And anyways.
Well, the heat's not the problem.
Yes, it is.
No.
I don't like the heat.
I don't like the cold.
We have bantered.
Yes, we have bantered. But we need to tell you about the beer we're going to have.
Let's talk about it.
Because this is wild. This might be the only good thing that ever came out of 2020.
Hey, there's this song. Everyone should go look it up right now. It's called, am I allowed to cuss? It's been so long since I've done.
Yes, I've cussed several times already.
Okay, so there's a song. You need to Google it. The title of the song is Low Key F Word 2020. Low Key 2020.
Yeah.
Go Google it. It's incredible. So that's a second thing that came out of 2020 that was good. A third thing that came out of 2020 that was good is the orange lost that election. Anyways,
yes,
okay, let's move on.
Fair. Also, Keb Mo has a song called Medicine Man that came from 2020.
See, a few good things.
But this was bottled on June 25th, 2020. And so I have aged it, both of these, for 4 years.
Let's go, Massachusetts.
And it is the Dogfish Head 120-minute IPA. Now, this beer
is the holy grail of hopheads.
Yes. If you're a hophead, you know this beer, and you probably love it.
It's continually hopped over 120 minutes, boiled, and then dry hopped for over a month.
Over a month.
It says enjoy now or age for a decade.
Yeah. So we've aged it for 4 years. I would never age this beer for a decade.
I've got one at home that I think is 6 years old.
Oh,
I think.
That's getting up there.
I
mean,
know,
it says a decade, but when I first started drinking these, they were so potent, and it was such a small batch run that the ABV on it used to be a range. It used to say,
"Good luck, ho."
It said 16 to 19%.
They said it's 16 now, right?
That's what it says on there now. It's 16. But I don't know. We'll see. If you don't know how beer ages.
Yeah, tell them why they would suggest aging it for a decade or more. How is that possible?
Well, because for some of these people, it's probably possible because they are...
they probably got true sellers.
Well, yeah, they probably have true sellers, but also the longer you age it, there's going to come a peak where probably for something like this, for the first 3.5 to 5 years, it's going to go up in ABV, but then it's going to start going down. And so on the tail end, if you don't want something that's quite so hot, age it longer past its peak and it will go down.
Ooh, it's got all sorts of nasty floaties.
Oh, yeah, dude, that's a 120 staple. Or at least it used to be. I haven't had one of the new ones.
I wish y'all could see. There's no way the camera will pick them up, but it is.
Well, maybe because the light.
It's a chunky monkey. You know what I'm talking about?
And yeah, it might. But yeah, it's. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. There is no clink because the glasses are so full.
Fuck that. That would be a clink for them. Oh my God. It's heaven. I always forget.
It is. Yeah. Oh my God.
I always forget this is one of the rare IPAs that is able to have for its malt front be like buttered toast.
Buttered toast. Hold on. We need to redo this again. Let's redo our first sip in 3, 2, 1. Let's just take a minute. My God, I hope you've got one at home and you're drinking one with us. Yeah, so talk more about that butter.
They don't. Yeah, and also if you don't age beer consistently, you can F it up pretty easily.
You mean you're talking about if you don't cellar it properly,
like if you get it cold for a lot of years and then you go a few weeks without it being cold and then you try to cool it again.
Skunk it, yeah.
No, that's not good for beer. Also, sunlight. That's why they're in dark bottles.
Yeah.
So there is many things that go into aging a beer well, and this one has been aged well.
There's something about the malt, the butter toast, yes, but there's something about the malt specifically that comes out of Dogfish Head, the brewery where this comes from in Massachusetts. There's just something about it that's in all of the 60-minute, the 90-minute, the 120, and then they have some variations of some of their other IPAs, but like it's just so, it's such a unique malt flavor. It's on all their beers, and I just love it. And the 120, especially aged 4 years, it's so forward, and that's what I like about it.
Oh yes, that's what makes it so rare, is because if you had a malt that was that forward in any other IPA that wasn't done 120 minutes, the hops would get drowned.
You lose the hops. Right. And I'm a big hop head, don't get me wrong. But sometimes, like, the hops on this is, like, almost gone.
Well, that's the aging process.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So
and that's the thing. When if you drink this, like, if you buy this beer when it first hits the shelf, it's on the shelves in April and in September every year.
You ever had a fresh one?
Yes.
I've had it fresh on the tap.
Oh, I've never had it on tap.
Oh, my God.
But when you get it fresh out of the bottle, it is the only adjective I know is it's loud. It's not. I would not say it's mellow or smooth by any definition. It's loud. It's very, very loud. And this is not. This is like a very buttered toast forward, and then it shifts to.
You get a little bitter on the back.
A touch of honey.
Yeah.
In the middle, and then you get this rush of bitters on the back end, and that's just the bitter part. But you have this floral undertone that just carries all the way through and lingers around.
That's a month of dry hopping.
That's the month of dry hopping. Yes, sir.
Or wait, was it a month? How long did they say?
Yeah. A month. Yeah, a month of dry hopping. They continually hop it throughout the 120-minute boil, and then they dry hop it for 1 month.
Dry hopping. Okay, give us a rating.
Oh,
you already know.
Yeah, dude, it's.
What a moment.
Yeah, dude, it's like a 9.2. It's so good.
I'm going to give it exactly a 9.2.
Yeah, it's so good.
That's exactly the number that I had in my head.
It's so good. I was debating between an 8.7 and a 9.2, and then I took that sip. I was like, no, it's definitely
the 5-year mark, 4-year, 5-year mark is
it's the aging perfect.
Normally, right in the sweet spot. So
yeah, that's why I told him. I was like, look, man, we gotta have this done because these beers are going down quick from this point on.
You got any more storage?
Not in aging.
Oof.
No, this is it.
We got to re-up.
I got to re-up on it. But I now have, so some changes to the beer on the podcast are coming now that we're in a new space.
Okay. Don't tell them what that means.
No, you don't think?
We should tease it.
Okay. Well, go back a few episodes and there may be a hint in some glassware.
Oh.
Easter egg.
Oh, dang. If you know what it is, comment below, and maybe we will give you a shout out on the next episode. Unless you're the guy who said that this is the worst podcast ever. And in that case,
I hope you.
The crowd goes wild for that one.
Thanks for the engagement, you. Wow. That's so how I feel.
Hey, let's talk about our theology in the Bible now that Cullen has. I almost called you Clayton, I swear. Bring back
Clayton. Okay, so here's what we want to talk about today. And I don't actually know how this is going to go. We're kind of winging it, and that's what we do around here. But I've been thinking a lot about food. And
hungry.
I read a book not too long ago.
It's been a minute since we've seen each other. I can tell you've been thinking about food a lot.
Roasted. So also, yes, I'm a bitch. I did organize my books according to color.
I noticed that when I walked in, and I was a little disappointed. But
well,
at the
you
same
remember
time,
they used to be. I think there's still evidence.
they were
of it.
topical. They were topical.
No,
right?
no, they were Library of Congress. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Library of Congress, which makes sense.
Some of them even still have the tags.
All I'm saying
Library
is-
of Congress my entire life.
All I'm saying is, as an academic, I'm a little disappointed, and I think you have sold out to aesthetics over academic integrity. Damn.
Yeah. I'm that bitch. I did that. Because doesn't it look better for podcasts than filming?
I'm testing my buttons because I can't remember what they do. All right, thanks for dealing with that.
And so I read a book that's over there somewhere, I think, probably out of shot, but it's called Old Testament Love or Love Old Testament Style or something.
Gross.
And then the subtitle is Prostitutes and Polygamy.
Nice.
Because that's really what it is. And in there, he made a good point. In the chapter on homosexuality, he was like, I didn't even want to write this.
Who's he? Do you remember the author? Keep going. In the notes.
I'll put it in the thing. But David something.
Of course.
Yeah.
Let me guess. He's an old white guy. Anyways, proceed. No,
Yeah.
just go. Just go. Talk about it.
So, in the chapter on
Homosexuality.
he was like, I didn't even want to write this chapter. A look at love, Old Testament style.
Oh my God! Can you please?
David Lamb. I got it.
Oh, David Lamb. Can you please put that image in the thing? That's just such a troll of modern evangelicals too. That's the other thing.
Dude, that's the cover of the book.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I'm
I'll put
saying,
it on there.
I'm saying put it
Yeah.
in the.
I'll put it on there. But anyways, in the section on homosexuality, he was like, I didn't even want to write this. And the reason is because as far as the Old Testament's concerned, the Bible's just really not that concerned about homosexuality. He's like, there's a grand total of 3 instances that all have their own nuances. Like, in that regard, the Bible is more concerned about how you cook a goat and whether or not you boil it in its own milk than the Bible is concerned about homosexuality. And that got me thinking. That made my wheels turn. Because the Bible does have a lot of concerns and thoughts about food and food preparation and what goes into our body and how food has an element of sacredness to it, and also how food can be overindulged and food can become sinful. Thinking about gluttony and things.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I was thinking about this, and especially thinking about American culture specifically, I can't really speak to other countries and their food cultures because I don't know them. But in American culture, we have definitely chosen to sacrifice quality of food for ease of preparation.
It's because we have too many. Our population is large.
Well, and I read something the other day that like 7% of people in metropolitan areas, 7% of adults have absolutely no clue how any of their food shows up in the grocery store.
Yeah.
Like they got some idea that, yeah, maybe some farmer grows some crops, but like the meat and things, no idea, no concept.
Sounds efficient to me, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, and it also sounds monopolized.
Well,
because there's not a bunch of media attention around the problems in it. That's the good part of capitalism, as they say.
I don't want to get off onto that rabbit trail. Back to food, please.
So, on the food side, I wanted to break this episode up into 2 parts. I know in the last episodes we've done a bunch of mini segments, and those will come back. But in this one will be 2 parts, and one of them is festivals. So, what do you remember about Jewish festivals?
It was a great proof point for arguing with evangelicals on whether or not drinking was okay.
It was. Yes, it was that. And one of the festivals is that specifically.
Also, there's one festival, it's Purim.
Yeah.
That's basically Halloween.
They celebrate it in March.
But they dress up and put on costumes and like do the whole costume thing.
And they get drunk.
Twisted.
E-tit-E.
Ooh. And then obviously I mean, I don't
Passover.
know what. Yeah, I mean, but I couldn't tell you.
So I attended my church when I was growing up. Did one of those Seder dinners.
Sure, of
Where
course.
they brought in one of the Messianic Jews, and they put on a Passover meal and tried to show like mirrorings or symbolisms or connections to Jesus.
They always
and
do.
it's like, it's a multi-course meal. It's a whole thing. There's definitely wine involved. And what you eat is very specific, and how and in what order you eat is very specific. But the Jewish people have 7 major festivals. I looked this up, and Adam, your Hebrew is better than mine. Do you want to read some of these off? We already talked about Purim and Passover, but
Yom Hashchof. I don't know what that is.
well, this is a transliteration, so it's hard to know.
Yom. So Yom means day,
Yep,
right?
yep,
So
for sure.
Hazkaron, Ha'atazmat,
Yep, there you go.
and Yerushalayim.
And then Shabbat.
That's
I remember Shabbat.
yeah. So
And then Day of Jerusalem.
it's
Is this
so
what, is this what we got going
no. What
here?
does Jerusalem mean? Day of redemption, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it's been so long since I've done
I know.
Hebrew.
I
can't remember
was thinking
any of
about.
it.
I was thinking about all of these. So these festivals, God, I guess in the Bible, or the people of God, established these festivals as these annual markers of themes.
Yeah.
Like divine themes.
They each had a different.
And they had these
narrative.
like celebratory elements to them of certain markers throughout the people of God's history. And they used food as symbols and markers and incorporated it into the celebration. And so like when we have a party, I get frustrated with parties that I go to these days, because when I was growing up and my parents would have parties, or their friends would have parties,
Tell on them.
the host
What did Kevin do?
would make a spread. And everything went. It wasn't no potluck style. It wasn't no mismatch. It wasn't no hodgepodge. This was thought out and itemized.
In this economy?
So that's how I grew up hosting. That was, I mean, I remember probably like once a month we would barbecue a whole hog and have all kind of people over. Mom will make a bunch of sides. It was just different. And so like, but today when we have a party, it's like
We cook that goat in its own milk. You know what I'm talking about?
Not me. Nah. But what we do is we'll do
Doo-doo. That's what you do after the
what
party,
we
bro.
do is we'll do it potluck style where everybody brings something, and it just that's how you do parties, and it just end up what it end up, and nothing really fits. There's not really a flow. There's not a lot of coordination. There's always a couple of items that are oddballs. They may taste good, but they don't really fit the theme. And those themes of the food are certainly not usually incorporated into the rest of the activities for the party. That whole encompassing element is 1,000% what a Jewish festival is. Like the festival is the festival, but it's around the food and the theme, and all of the symbols and things that you need to remember are embodied and personified in the food that's presented on the table at the feast.
It tells a story.
Correct. It would be very similar to, I don't know if you came to this party, but a few years ago I hosted a Masters themed party.
No.
We watched the Masters.
Imagine that.
In my backyard, I had
Putt-putted.
Nope, I had a pitching wedge, and somebody got ballsy, and we did hit a 7-iron.
Where'd it go?
Oh, into the abyss.
Yeah. Anyways.
So, and I made all the food from the Masters, like that they have at the concession stands of the Masters.
Okay.
And so it was like a fully encompassing party. You might, a similar idea might be like Thanksgiving. That might be our most like popularized, Americanized version of these Jewish festivals would be something like Thanksgiving, which is totally 1,000,000% been whitewashed, but I'll save that for another conversation.
I love turkey, though.
Oh, dude, turkey's the best.
Only
I wish we had more of them in Texas. We don't have them in my parts of Texas.
Anyways, where are we talking? Where are we going with this?
So the festivals. God seemed to be very concerned with the specific things that were happening. Oh, yes. Let's look at this one. The Feast of Booths. You remember this one?
Yeah, Sukkot.
Yep.
Man, I was a charismatic, bro.
I was fixing to say, okay, so you got a good story with this?
Well, it's just the good story is all the cultural appropriation and like low key yet high key racism.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like every single person like in my charismatic community needed to celebrate. There's another name, Sukkot, Feast of Booths,
Feast of Tabernacles.
Tabernacles, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Tabernacles. Dude, so, I know people who would literally still do to this day, literally
go in the tent,
build that stuff in the backyard. And so
the sukkah.
You basically party in a tent for 7 days. And it's
a sukkah.
A sukkah,
yeah.
And it's Sukkot. You build a sukkah on Sukkot. And you basically party in a tent for 7 days. You eat a lot of food, drink a lot of wine, and it's supposed to remember, I think, the wilderness wanderings, right?
Well, that's what it's symbolizing. Yeah, so this is from...
It's a remembrance.
Yeah, this is from Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica. Sukkot, the Festival of Booths, or the Festival of Thieves, or Tabernacles.
Not thieves.
Is a 7-day holiday rooted in 40 years of the Israelites spent wandering in the wilderness. During Sukkot, Jews construct and decorate a temporary shelter called a sukkah. A special prayer ritual requires the use of etrog, a citrus fruit, lulav, a palm frond, hadass, a myrtle sprig, and harava, a willow branch. The festival ends with Shemini Atzeret, 8th day of the solemn assembly, and Simchat Torah, rejoicing of the Torah, during which the Torah scrolls are carried around the synagogue to express the joy of receiving and observing God's law. So you see what I mean? Like, these festivals were fully encompassing, and the food, there were dedicated food rituals that were incorporated into the celebration. Like, God chose to make in the law, make the thing that provided sustenance to the people of God incorporated in the festivals of God. Very quickly on, establishing, like that food was important. I mean, hell, the very first prohibition the people of God ever get is to not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
That's the thing. Like the analogy, the creation story or whatever. Like the fall is all about eating.
For sure. So, and that probably is a great transition to our next section, which is like the parameters of food that the Bible gives. So I can't remember, but I was thinking about this too. I was just looking. I don't know about you, but I'm a candy.
I am not a candy.
I love candy, and when I say candy, I don't mean I'll eat chocolate like good stuff, but like when I say I'm a candy, like Laffy Taffies, sour gummy worms,
shake that Laffy Taffy,
nerd clusters, like all that kind of tart, sour, sweet, hard candy. I am a literal. I cannot get enough. Candy. So I was eating nerd clusters the other day, and I was like, you know what? This cannot be good for me. Like, I don't even know that I want to know what's in there. But I looked in the ingredient list.
Sugar and food coloring.
Oh, but let's talk about those food colorings, bro.
Well, okay.
So I think a lot of people got feelings about like red dye 40 or red dye 5 or blue 40, yellow, whatever. I don't remember all of them. But then when I went and looked at the nerd clusters, the nerd clusters have all
methamphetamine.
Yes. No, the nerd clusters have all those things, all those same food colorings, but then they have another listed that's like a blue 40 lake or a yellow 5 lake or a
don't-
red whatever lake.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Okay.
So I looked shit up.
And it's like, it's just it's a synonym for cancer causing.
Probably.
Carcinogen.
But those straight, like red 40 or whatever, like those numbers, those are called straight food colorings. And then
Slay.
the lake versions are called queer food. No, I'm just playing. Hey, gay people are cool. But no. No, the lake is the lake is a fake, like a chemical process of creating the food coloring. It's not it's not a natural process way of doing it. Not that the regular straight one is either. There's no chemicals involved. But there is in the lake version.
This is crazy.
They like literally pool it in a lake of chemicals to like make the food. I don't understand.
Okay.
But anyways, none of these are allowed. None of the straight versions are allowed in the UK. So they're certainly not going to allow the queer version.
Oh my God.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. Okay, I won't make any more jokes. Sorry. Okay. So, but this is one of my ways. When it comes to shit I don't understand, I usually go to look at the UK. Not that they're doing everything right, but they're on the shit, they're certainly doing a better job than we are. And so I was thinking about this, and the Bible is actually quite concerned with like not just what you eat, but how what you eat is prepared. And I was also thinking about this. The Bible also has parameters. I think is it Leviticus 20 where they have the parameters about leaving the edges of your grain fields for the poor, and then Jesus breaks them when him and his disciples come through and they're eating the grain field on the Sabbath.
That might be right. I mean, I remember the Jesus story.
Yeah, I can't remember the reference on that.
Then he got in trouble.
Right. But then he has that great dialogue with the Pharisees where it's
He does the Jesus thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't remember exactly, but there not only are there parameters in the Old Testament about how you must prepare and care for your food before you eat it, like the not boiling the goat in your own milk thing, or the milk of its mother, which I guess I was thinking about this too. I listened to a podcast the other day about deer management from a biologist researcher at Auburn. And he was making a case that deer think their primary source of existence is to breed.
Yeah, of course.
To just like fucking make babies.
Yeah, man.
So, but he doesn't think it's just like, let me breed whoever, like however many I want. He thinks it's much more like, yeah, I'm not going to turn down any that want me, but I'm really focused on like these few that are the cream of the crop, I think, to try to make the best baby. Like if you're the dominant buck.
So he's got a roster.
And in the same way that like humans naturally figure out inbreeding is not good for the offspring, he thinks that like the animal kingdom has that ability too.
Okay.
So this is why deer will like a 1.5 or 2.5-year-old buck, like when they're ready to start breeding, they'll let go 10, 15 miles away
because they don't want to do their sister.
Or their mom.
Whoa.
So it, in that same idea, I do wonder a lot if the not boiling the goat in the milk of its own milk or its milk of its mother is requiring that you have other goats around to not have inbreeding. Like you have other lines.
Oh, it's to prevent like inbreeding. Interesting.
Yeah.
Heck if I know.
I don't know either. I'm just saying that I think that could be, a possible conversation point as well.
We're clearly revealing that we do not know our Judaism.
Not.
Somebody knows why that is in the Bible. It ain't us.
No. Fuck that. Some dude's gonna tell you he knows why that's in the Bible, but none of us really know any of this shit.
True.
We're all guessing making educated guesses and research the best we can put it together, but nobody really knows any of this.
True.
So the other thing I was thinking about is, so there's a bunch of that you like the social element of food, but in that The only prohibition of food I could think of was gluttony. Can you think of another like law outlawing food other than how food's prepared, other than gluttony?
Wait. You're talking about like a biblical like
Law.
yeah, I mean like
Like a prohibition.
shellfish. Hooved
certain types of food.
Hooved animals. There's like a bajillion of them.
Which I think a lot of that, knowing like by no means am I like a meat market expert, or I can't remember what they're called. But I have hunted and fished my entire life and processed a lot of game and animals. And I think a lot of that is because they can't refrigerate things. Refrigeration really does make meat quality.
So you're saying God
way better.
God said don't eat pigs because you couldn't refrigerate the meat, not because they were unclean, because they eat their own shit?
Well, I think it's both. I think because they are an animal that's willing to eat their own shit, they are an animal that has to be handled with the utmost care. And if it ever gets even the slightest bit hot, shellfish they don't eat their own shit, but you can get really sick from shellfish because they carry certain parasites and bacteria that we don't have in land animals that can really not sit well with.
So it wasn't about holiness; it was about refrigeration.
Well, I think it was a sign of holiness that you were going to these food rituals, but I think these ancient food rituals were certainly related to health hazards that we now know and can confirm based on the type of foods that were outlawed. This is true with, the no fish without scales. Mm-hmm. So this would mean you can't eat catfish.
Right.
I eat the shit out of some catfish.
Amen.
But really, it's a bottom feeder. It really can have a lot of worm. Like, it can be a fish that can get, very unclean very quick. And so I do think a lot of these prohibitions are ancient health related, except the gluttony one, which I guess in a way you could say that's, is health related because you don't want obese people, which, I think that is very nuanced. Because just as example, I met some corn-fed from Nebraska that the body mass index would definitely say they're overweight, but those motherfuckers are not. They just thick.
Amen.
And they're the dudes I definitely want on my team at the bar fight.
Get them thick Nebraskans.
That's right. Also, shout out, Tim Walls is from Nebraska, Midwest.
Whoa.
Not that I'm going to necessarily vote that. I'm just saying.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, I figured you would. But the gluttony part, I think that prohibition is absolutely social related.
Okay.
Because you can't be...
You don't want to overeat when somebody doesn't have any food?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I think that is absolutely what it's getting at.
Because God is a communist. Socialist.
God is an everyone needs to be cared for.
Mm-hmm.
I think...
That's right.
Just based on the way the Old Testament has worked, God wanted it to be a theocracy where we went through the judges, and that couldn't happen because humans suck. And so then we moved to this monarchy because that's what the people asked for, and then that sucked. So God broke it down, a time with the Babylonians, and then again with the Romans. And now they're a people group that, have a nation, but it's very... I don't think... All that to say, I don't think God is necessarily concerned with the medium of caring for everyone as much as God cares that everyone has a full belly and is not going without, and their children are not going without. And I think, and also I would say, I think that goes to the point of quality of food as well.
Yeah.
'Cause anytime you in the ancient world, when you go to do a celebration or whatever for one of these festivals, you kill or sacrifice your fattest calf.
Thick.
Because actually, as it really boils down to it, your body needs the fat. Like your body can't live. These no fat diets are not good for your body. Your body needs fat.
That's funny when you boil it down. I see what you did there.
Yes. So I think with all of that, I think what I'm trying to say is I hope when you leave this podcast, every time you don't feel like you have any answers, but you have a lot more questions. And I hope I've given you some of those. These are some of the questions that I'm wrestling with about food, not to make it political, but I do think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is bringing some light, some much needed light on our food practices in America that none of the two major party candidates seem to be talking about.
And dumping baby bears in Central Park.
Dude, you are not going to get any love with that comment on this podcast. If there were bears around here, that seems like I would have done.
Uh-huh.
I totally, I don't know. If he didn't kill it and he was just going to attempt to preserve it best he could and then decided he ran out of time and then he played a joke with it, yeah, that's 1,000,000% some shit I would have done.
Mm-hmm.
If he really did just happen upon it. If he killed it and then just did that, that's fucked.
What about the bicycle? Anyways, go ahead. Land
the
the plane.
bicycle thing is weird. Landing the point, I think we're outie. I hope you got some good questions about your food, and I hope you feel some kind of way.
Feel some kind of way, people.
About food being more sacred than you thought about previous to this, and maybe that McDonald's order is not the best solution.
Because the ice cream machine is broken again.
Every single time. Go to Dairy.